Mason's my little boy. He's 3. He just started counting things, so he'll run around our house now counting pretty much everything that we own. And it's cute, but really doesn't seem that significant or, well, life-altering at first. But when you actually stop and think about it, this has changed his entire world. He now has a new relationship with everything around him. He can measure the amount of something. That gives everything another level of significance. He'll go into the kitchen. He'll see there's 1 juice box. He knows yesterday there were 4. So he'll say, hey, what are we going to do about this juice box situation? You see, measurements, they play a pivotal role in our lives. Well, they help us tell a story. They help us interpret the world around us. They help us understand the situations that we're in. They also guide us towards what needs our attention. Like the World Health Organization, they've recently measured the impact a lack of positive mental health has on the world economy. They estimate it's $1 trillion in lost productivity per year. That's $1 trillion with a T. That's something that needs our attention. And I believe one solution, well, actually comes down to measuring. So what if? What if companies could not only increase their profits, but also increase mental health at the same time? Well, they could do this simply by treating the positive psychological health of a workforce like any other asset in the company. Like any other asset, the first thing you would want to do is you would want to measure it. Things like hope, resiliency, gratitude, optimism, well-being. What would that do for mental health? I can tell you from the work that I do in my consulting practice, things change really quick when you actually start measuring. We could take those measurements, we could compare them across companies, across industries, across fields, benchmark the results. We could hold ourselves and others accountable for it. We could look at programs and initiatives and see which ones actually made a positive impact. So what if? What if companies did actually start measuring the psychological health of their workforce? And simply by treating it like the asset that it is, we were able to work together and we improved it 3%. I think that's incredibly conservative, but well, let's explore it. I mean, what exactly would a 3% increase do? Well, there would be that much less stress and anxiety, that much more positivity in the world. Who wouldn't want a world 3% more positive? I wish my social media feed was 3% more positive right now. It'd be good for business. A 3% increase would add around $30 billion to the world economy. Psychologically healthy people, they're safer on the job. They stay longer. They're more productive. They're also more creative. What might we create simply because of that 3% increase? What cure might we find? What could be invented? What business might get started? I feel like I need to take a step back. I want to be clear. Just because I'm talking about the psychology of a company's workforce does not mean that I'm encouraging anyone to go all Freud on their employees. This has nothing to do with mental illness. I'm not suggesting anybody measure or track anything like that. What I'm talking about is looking at how well a company supports the part of our psychology that makes us strong, makes us thrive. You see, I want to look at the nutrients in the soul. I'm not interested in trying to find bad apples. I'm also not here to try to convince anyone that positive psychology is important at work. The truth is, the vast majority of companies, they already know. If you look at Hilton, Hilton has invested millions of dollars in their Thrive at Hilton Wellbeing Initiative. Accenture offers their employees support services for dealing with things like stress. The Life at Facebook program, it's designed to give their employees the tools and resources they need to thrive on the job. Even Vive Kayaks, the kayak manufacturer that makes the kayak I fish in every weekend, they have a company creed: no drama, just adventure. So we get it. Companies are interested in this stuff. They're trying to figure out ways to improve it. But again, I'm not here to try to sell you on that. You're probably already sold. What I'm here to do is try to convince you we missed an important first step. Of the companies that are investing in these programs, less than 20% do anything at all to measure the impact. Of those, I'll get vague comments like, yeah, we had 200 participants in a workshop on well-being. And that's great. But did well-being improve? What was well-being before you started that actually motivated you to have that program in the first place? And what is an acceptable level of well-being at work? And what level should we be aspiring to achieve? Can you start to see the problem? You see, we need to be doing a much better job of actually measuring these things. We need to do it in a significant, incredible way. We need to hold ourselves accountable to it, and we need to figure out ways that we can compare these things so we can actually create a baseline. Then we can make a significant investment towards improving it. You see, this could be a massive waste of money, or it could be amazing. It could be something that we should be doubling down on, investing more time and resources in. But the truth is, we don't know. And if you don't know where you are, how can you possibly be making smart choices about how to get to where you want to go? All maps are worthless if you don't know where you are. And for that matter, if you don't know where you are, and you're not really sure how to get to where you want to, how do we even know where you want to go? Before I joined the university, I was a consultant. I worked with hundreds of organizations. I traveled all over the world. It was a great gig. Then I had kids. I had to stay home. I've been in your companies. I've seen the mission statements, the value proclamations. I've seen the banners on the wall proclaiming that employees are your number one asset. Really? Can you substantiate that claim? Because I bet you can tell me to the nth degree every aspect of every asset in your company, except that one asset that you claim is number one. From production to performance to productivity, maintenance, life cycle, efficiency, you got data to support every bit of it. I bet you don't even have to pull up your laptop right now to tell me what your gross revenue was last year. Sales volume for each product line, the delta between this year and last year's KPIs. You've got data to support all of it. I've worked with some of the largest companies in the world. I've done these calculations myself. I've seen the data. I know. You have data to support all your assets, every aspect of them except for one. And sure, you got things like demographics and diversity and tenure and turnover and absenteeism. You may go as far as looking at like satisfaction and engagement. But that doesn't get at the root of what actually drives an employee. You see, 75% of an employee's performance can be attributed to part of their psychological health. If you had a machine and 75% of that machine was attributed to part of it, then you damn sure you'd measure it. You'd track it, you'd report on it, you'd talk about it in meetings. If it wasn't at the level you thought it needed to be, well, you'd be like Mason. Hey, what are we going to do about the juice box situation? But the truth is, we don't measure it. We don't report on it. We don't talk about it in meetings, even though it makes up 75% of an employee's performance. And I've worked with executive teams. I've sat on boards. I've met with hundreds of CEOs. I've run investor calls. Not one time has the psychological health of a company's workforce ever been discussed at any of those meetings with any level of significance. One reason is because there's no universal algorithmic approach to actually measuring these things. So no company can actually paint me a clear picture of what their current situation really is. So even though we say it matters, right now it doesn't. Because what you measure matters. Now, I'm not here to argue that companies don't care about their employees. They do. One way we know they do is they make a significant investment towards workplace safety. And no organization, no entity has done more for workplace safety than OSHA, or the Occupational Safety and Health Administration. And when I was an undergrad, I was taught that OSHA started as the public responding to a massive increase of deaths and injuries on the job. That's what we're told, and if you Google it, how did OSHA begin? That's exactly what you'll find. That's the story we're all told, but it's 100% wrong. There's one thing that had to happen before anybody got upset at the increase. How did we know there was an increase? We had to measure it. And because we measured it, your chances of getting seriously injured on the job, they've decreased 73%. That's a huge cry from the 3% I was talking about earlier. Look, another thing that we can learn from OSHA is when they started, there was no universal way to actually measure workplace safety. And the same is true for the psychological health of a company. We don't have the perfect way to measure it. There's been a tremendous amount of work around positive organizational behaviors. Dr. Fred Luthen's, my personal mentor, Dr. Carolyn Youssef Morgan, they've done a tremendous amount of work on 4 constructs: hope, resiliency, optimism, self-efficacy. These 4 constructs, they work together to form a higher order construct called psychological capital. And there's a tremendous amount of research and a great possibility of the link between that and performance. I think it's a great place to start. I'm incredibly biased because I spent a huge chunk of my life writing a dissertation on it. But the important thing is we start. We start somewhere. We start and we learn as we go and we adjust. But the most important thing is we start. Look, I truly do believe companies care about their employees. They really do want them to be their number one asset. They care about things like well-being and mental health. But if we want significant change, we have to start with the measurement. We have to take those measurements with the same level of scrutiny, demand the same level of credibility that we do with any other asset in our company. Then we can actually make a significant effort towards improving it. We need to be transparent. We need to report it. We need to compare it between companies. If we all work together, we can make a massive change in the world of mental health. Thank you.